Hi, everybody. This is Erica from In the Company of Cards. I thought today I would do the horoscopes for July. They're not really horoscopes, of course. These are Tarotscope slash Lenormand scopes. Um, so these are messages for you all, and I have just grouped them by astrological sign, right? So what I would do if I were you is listen to, if you know them, your sun sign and your moon sign and your rising sign. Listen to all three to get a fuller picture. Um, and the way that I do this is that I just set the intention that the cards that I'm pulling resonate for the group of people that I'm pulling them for in a given moment, right? So I'll be starting with Aries and work my way around the astrological wheel. And I have in advance pulled a tarot card for each sign. So I'll talk a little bit about that briefly, and then what I will do is I will pull three Lenormand cards to clarify the tarot card. So hopefully that's helpful. In terms of timestamps, I'm not technologically proficient. If somebody would like to volunteer to do my timestamps, I don't know, maybe that would be good. But what I am going to do is do them manually and then just type them into the description box. So it's not like you'll be able to click on it and immediately get to the sign that you're looking for. You'll have to, you'll have to scroll to the sign, but you'll at least know approximately where that sign starts. So again, if I were you, I would look at the sun sign, moon sign, and rising sign to get a good picture. And again, this is for entertainment purposes only. And I hope you enjoy it. I'll be starting, as I said, with Aries, and I will go in order around the astrological wheel. Okay, here we go. Okay, Aries, you're up first with the Knight of Wands. This is from Anatolian's Tarot of the Abyss. So what I love about this card is that, you have this young man here, and in his hand, in the palm of his hand, he's holding an elemental, like a fairy kind of. Think of it like that, like a spark of creative energy. In the background, you have the Knight of Wands. I mean, the Page of Wands. The Page of Wands is kind of like, if we're thinking about fire, the one who gets the kindling, who fetches the kindling and prepares the base, right? But without the spark, the elemental spark brought by the Knight of Wands, nothing can happen. And wands are all about action. So the knight is the one who kind of lights the spark, sets it on fire, which is great. So when we think about this particular card, we think of creativity, the potential for creativity, and we think of passion, right? All of that is what he holds in the palm of his hand. I think that the thing that the Knight of Wands wants to warn against, though, is carelessness. I mean, as you know, sparks can, I mean, they can build fires that warm us, or they can create devastating forest fires. So carelessness is something to ward against, but creativity, absolutely, and passion are called for from you this month, Aries. And Aries, that makes sense, right? So I'm gonna pull three Lenormand cards to see how can you best use your creative passion in a way that is controlled but still powerful. So, so we have the garden, we have the clouds, and we have the rider. I think people in the month of July are going to feel very discombobulated. This is people, and this is discombobulation. The astrologers whom I know have said that this will be a really intense month. They're calling it the most intense month of the year for lots of different reasons. nevertheless, it's going to leave a lot of people confused. And when people are confused, what do they want? They look for messages of clarity so that they can know how to proceed. Well, that's where the Knight of Wands comes in. So I guess I think of Rudyard Kipling, and the Knight of Wands is going to be the one who keeps his head when all about him are losing theirs. And that's maybe not the easiest thing in the world for the Knight of Wands to do, because the Knight of Wands, again, can be given to impetuousness. What is it? Is that the word for it? Impetuousness? Yeah. Feels like there should be a different noun, but that's the one I'm going to use. And so um, you're being asked to be creative, but also to keep um, a what a perimeter for your creativeness, like to be creative inside the lines, right? Because people who are lacking direction, who are confused, who are upset, who are whatever, need messages of, again, creativity that is not uncontrolled, but is the opposite, doable, seeable, um, hopeful, right? So take that creative energy, that spark, that enthusiasm, and put it to good and tempered use on behalf of the collective. So that's Aries, what you're called to do. Okay. Taurus, you're up next. And wouldn't you know, you have the Tower. And we all know that when we see the Tower, it kind of pulls us up short, makes us a little anxious, a little nervous, because what have we got here? We've got sort of, it looks like a house that's been in a whirlwind tornado, or a tree house that's falling out of the trees and people falling out of the house. So it can be a scary card whenever we see it, but it is, as we know, the card of transformation. And, what is transformation about? It is moving out of a comfort zone, whether you want to or not. And I know, Taurus, for you who love their comfort zone, that's tough. That's tough. But you're being asked to move out of your comfort zone and sort of maybe practice non-attachment, because that will make whatever upheaval is coming easier. And I know it's kind of like Lenormand, where people will say, "Oh, this is always a bad card." People love to say about the Tower that it's always a bad card. I don't think that that's true, but I do think it will rock you. But sometimes we can get rocked into better places than the ones that we started out in, correct? So let's look at Lenormand and see what they have to say about how you can navigate this successfully. I have said in other videos that the astrologers are telling us that July will be a rocky month for everyone. But maybe for you, you might feel it more, right? Because again, you staying in your comfort zone. So let's see what Lenormand has to say. All right. We have the fox, we have the lily, and we have clouds. Now, I think this is good advice. Remember what we're looking at. We're looking at the tower. How do you navigate um, experiences that involve drastic, life-changing transformation, which it looks like you could be due for, Taurus? Well, the fox is the card for the expert. This one here Transformation doesn't bother him. He is zen about it. He has learned non-attachment. So that's maybe that's why I mentioned non-attachment and this card pops up. Um, to whatever degree you engage in um, meditation or meditative arts like Tai Chi or Qigong or um, yoga, mindful walking, that will help you because that can be sort of a constant in the midst of all the swirling change. So I think that would be some good advice there because clouds are about doubts, and that's the other thing that he knows. Clouds are just thoughts, but thoughts can become things. Everything that you see in the world, everything physical that you see in the world was first a thought. So thoughts can become things and that they can be powerful, but we can control our thoughts. We can control maybe not what happens around us, but our response. And the fox is the expert at that. Okay. So it's just, you know, go placidly amidst the noise and haste. You know, don't fight this transformation. That wouldn't, I mean, that's not going to do you any good. But if you can roll with things, if you can find peace like a river in your soul, as the spiritual says, then these clouds can be morphed and they can pass away and the sun can come out. So um, it's just about riding the wave for you, Taurus, this month. All right. Best of luck. Gemini, you have a card, and we could all use a little bit of the energy of this card. The Fool is your card for July. So, the Fool is, if you look at her, she's about to step off a cliff. Her head is in the air and her eyes are closed. She is dropping a flower behind her, which is a rose, indicating that she's leaving behind everything that was as she steps off the cliff into the abyss, the unknown. And astrologers are telling us that July promises to be a little bit of a wild ride. So this energy is not bad. Um, it's about a leap of faith, trusting that whatever it is that we're leaving behind as we dismantle this old system, these old systems that don't work for us anymore, that we are taking a step forward into something better. The thing is, um, leaps of faith are great. I think the question that you're going to need to ask yourself, Gemini, is leap of faith, faith in what? And so, that saying, look before you leap, I think that that's what's being advised, to look before you leap. It's not saying don't leap. It's not saying don't have faith. It's to say, you know, give some thought to what you might want to envision as the new reality you're about to step into. They say we create our own reality. So, blind faith is foolhardy. Um, but faith in something, whether it's a belief, a vision, a person, ourselves, that can be really, really good. So know what you are intending as you step off into what may or may not um, be. So, how do you do that? Let's look. We're going to pull three Lenormand cards for that. How do you step out on faith, but also with your head still screwed on right? These are nice. Um, we have the young woman, the dog, and the ship all clarifying this fool's journey into off the cliff here. So this is the card of openness and acceptance and willingness. So that's really good. Also, this is the card for trust. Trust in ourselves, trust in other people. So you want to be a fool, but you also want to be trustworthy um, because other people are jumping off this cliff with you. But the ship is great because the ship implies that you don't land at the bottom of the ditch with every bone broken, but instead, taking that leap of faith, that sort of, I would say, calculated, I'm going to say, leap of faith, studied leap of faith. You don't come at this from nowhere to make this leap of faith. But once you take this leap, the ship implies forward movement, positive forward movement. So that's good. Be adventurous, uh, Gemini, and I think you are. Um, Make a case for others that they too should not be mired in despair, but grounded in hope, grounded in faith, and courageous enough to leave behind what we need to leave behind and step forward. Hi, Cancer. Your tarot card is the Knight of Pentacles. Notice this is the knight that is not actually on a horse. He walks beside the horse. In fact, here, I mean, are they even walking? It kind of looks like they're standing still. So the thing to know about this knight is that he is focused, he is tenacious, um, he runs the risk of being a perfectionist, but he pays attention to details. He does not leap before he looks. In fact, he doesn't leap at all. um, he does achieve forward momentum, but it is slow. And sometimes slow is called for. July promises to be a hot month in all the ways of being hot. And so I would submit that we could really use Cancer's slow, methodical, attention to detail approach. So how can you cultivate that this month when, like I said, it's going to be hot and you will be tempted to, light your hair on fire like everybody else is doing. But no, this is what you're called to pull out from inside you. Patience, um, stick-to-itiveness, tenacity, um, but to keep putting one foot in front of the other. So let's look and to see what Lenormand can tell us about how to do that this month. It's very interesting. In several of these videos, I've had a repeat card, and you are one of them that gets this one card that has repeated already a couple of times, and I think speaks to the energy of the month, which is supposed to be just so combustive and fraught. So again, we've got this Knight of Pentacles, and we've got the fish, the mountain, and the clouds. And I think that they They do a good job in clarifying this card, this Knight of Pentacles card. Emotions will be high. This is the card for emotion. Emotion will be high. And what you're asked to do, both in your own life for yourself, but for those around you in the circles that you inhabit, that you be the Knight of Pentacles and you be the voice of reason and you suggest to people to slow their roll, take a beat, take a breath, sit down, drink some water, and let us reason. What is the term? What is the quote? I don't know. Let us reason together. I can't remember the adjective, but let us reason together. Uh, because there will be a lot of confusion this month. Who's in charge? Who's on first? If we're not in charge, do we have to do what the people in charge say we have to do? What does this all mean? As I've said in other videos, clouds are just thoughts. However, thoughts become things. And physics tells us that what we pay attention to is the thing that then gets brought into existence. What is the expression? The wolf that we feed is the one that grows. So your job is to be the cool head of reason. Um, I don't think that you will have to worry about the shadow side of the Knight of Pentacles, which is this urge towards perfectionism. I don't think because I mean I don't think it's achievable in the month of July, so you won't even try for that. But what you will do is use your steady hand to help yourself and other people stay calm in the midst of the storm. And that is a great gift to the collective and to yourself. So that's great. You know, Leo, I've done a few of these videos, so far sitting here, and I see a theme because I've seen, when I look at the tarot cards that I've pulled, several of them so far speak to the upheaval of the month, which a lot of astrologers have spoken to. And so you too have one of those cards. And, it's not the fool stepping off the cliff. It's not the tower with everybody falling apart, falling out of it. It is, instead, you have the Wheel of Fortune. She is the weaver of time, who neither sleeps nor slumbers nor rests, because time is inexorable. And the Wheel of Fortune is such, as you know, that reminds us that what goes down goes up, and what goes up comes down, and it's inexorable, right? There's no end to it, nor do we control it. We don't control it, Leo. And that's hard, right? Because Leos, we love to be in control. I'm a Leo sun, so I get it. Um, but we can't control the vicissitudes of time and circumstance in history. All we can do is control our response. And so that seems to be the watchword for you, is to sort of how do you, um, I think of a Ferris wheel. How do you keep your seat in that Ferris wheel when there's no seatbelt? How do you stay on? And how do you navigate that the ups and the downs? So let's see how you can do it and help others to do it in this month of July. So to clarify the Wheel of Fortune, the cards we have are the Child, the Dog, and the Crossroads. And I'm going to say that and this is also hard for a Leo to hear, rather than the grand gesture, right? The big move. Um, Sometimes keeping yourself balanced, whether it's a balance beam or a yoga pose or the Ferris wheel, involves not grand, big gestures, but small little movements that keep you balanced. Like, for example, you may have heard me say that I got rid of my desk chair and I'm sitting on a ball, and because it's just better for my back. So I'm always moving. I'm never completely still, but it helps me to stay balanced. So these small little incremental uh, adjustments we can make to our attitudes and to the way that we walk through our days and the way we talk to the people whom we encounter, will be helpful in carrying us through this month. So no grand gestures. It doesn't, you're not being asked to reinvent the wheel. No, you're asked to make small adjustments. Um, because if you do this, you will be able to trust, which is the dog, trust the process. Trust that the wheel, however it goes up and down, we land in the exact right place that we're meant to be. Trust. And then we have the crossroads card. And I would say that making these incremental changes and adjustments, trusting in the process, you don't have to do it. It's a choice that you make. And again, as I said in the beginning of the reading, we cannot control whether that wheel is up or down. Where we have choice is how how we receive it, how we handle it, right? How we navigate it. Choice. So good luck and have a good month. Virgo. You know, I know a few Virgos, and I will say of all of the signs, Virgo strikes me as being the most self-critical sign. I mean, they're harder on themselves than they are on anybody else. And so it's interesting that Virgo, you got this card, and I feel like, I don't remember for sure, but I feel like last month when I did this for the first time, I really feel like Virgo, you got the same card, which is interesting, right? And I always say Lenormand will tell us something when we ask. And then if we ask the same thing again, it'll tell us the same thing, but using different cards. Well, here we have Tarot saying, I feel like I told you this last month, and I'm going to tell it to you again, and I'm going to tell it to you again and again and again until you start to sort of absorb the message. And I'm kind of stalling to hold the card up. But if you saw last month's, you already know. Um, it's the Ten of Swords. And that's the card universally, right? In the traditional version where someone is on their back and with 10 swords sticking out of them. In this version, we have a person, another second person, standing up, walking towards the person on the ground, and we can't tell whether they mean the person good or whether they mean the person ill. But you know how in a dream they say that every person in your dream is some iteration of yourself? Well, you know, you are your own rescuer and you are your own attacker. So, Virgo, you kind of play both roles here. And the thing to remember, though, about this card, the silver lining, and it's quite a silver lining in this card, is the fact that it marks the end of a difficult state of mind. because it's a 10, and 10 is the end, right? In numerologically. So um, it gets better from here, is the point. It's the end of a certain state of mind. And I think with Virgo, that state of mind is that critical, self self abnegating, self accusatory tendency. Listen, in this world we're living in, you're not the worst one, because you know who is not a Virgo. Just saying. He's not a Virgo, and he's worse than any of you could possibly ever be. So, it's time to decide. Uh, have you had enough of those swords sticking out of your back? And is this other you going to come and help you pluck them out? Or have you not had enough? You're being invited to decide that you've had enough. Again, LaCroix, if you want to sponsor me, would love it. Okay. So, how do you do that? How do you say, I really want this to be the end of that mental torture that I do to myself. I want to end that particular cycle where I beat myself up about whatever particular thing that it is. So how can you do that in July? I mean, I do suspect that in July there will be enough news to distract you from any self-flagellation that you're going to do. But what do the cards have to say? How can you really make this moment stick at this moment of it being an end to this negative self-talk, this end to this uber critical relationship that you have with yourself. I don't know. Let's see what does Lenormand want to. So remember, we're clarifying the Ten of Swords, right? And we have Clover, we have Cross, and we have the Stork. You know, I just want to say these two cards are terrific. This is one of what I call the happiness cards, and it's a certain kind of happiness. This happiness is about sort of like Christmas morning, or you win the lottery. It's just something out of the ordinary, unexpected, exciting, and good. That's the and it's temporal. It's ephemeral. It's here and then it's gone. So you either seize it or you lose it, right? And then we have the stork on the other side. Stork is about positive change. But in between, we have the cross. And yeah, it's a religious symbol, but why is it a religious symbol? Because it was an instrument of torture used by the Romans, correct? So, um, there's a guy I sometimes quote. I can't stand him because he was Nazi adjacent. He did give us the automobile, Henry Ford. And Henry Ford had a saying, and the saying was, whether you tell yourself you can or you tell yourself you can't, you're right. So it's about whether you want to stay in this place that nobody's put you but yourself, or whether you want to seize the opportunity to find a better way, a kinder way of relating to yourself, a kinder way of observing your own shortcomings, because we all have them. Um, or, I mean, do you get something out of um, being on the ground with the sword sticking out of you. Um, Out of all the readings so far, a lot of them have, given advice about how we can each be helpful to the collective as we navigate this month. But this feels like it's meant very personally just for you to look for the joy in life, the luck in life, the happiness, the lightness, the ease in life, because you deserve it. You deserve it. It's your right as a human being to find that kind of joy just in being who you are. So I guess what I'm saying is take the month of July as a vacation month from the self-criticism. I mean, unless you're in the administration, in which case, knock yourself out criticizing yourself. But if you're watching me, you're probably not, and you deserve at least a month off. And if you take that break that you're being offered this month, you may see the silver lining of this cloud, which is that this is over. This is over. 10, it's as far as you can go. That's it. And it can only go up from here. So enjoy your vacation from whipping yourself. Please take advantage of that. Libra, you have as your tarot card the King of Pentacles. That's a really nice card. Hold it up close so you can see it. So, Libra, I think this is inviting you to take an active role in the design of your life. And that can be anything that is um, tangible, physical. So, for example, your finances, pentacles, your health, pentacles also. So, the reason that I say take an active role in the design of your life, and I think that's a paraphrase from Anatolian who did this card, this deck, Tarot of the Abyss, is that Libras are, mm, they can be the great equivocators. Like, don't ask a Libra, where would you like to have dinner? Because they'll say, well, I don't know, what do you want? Libras like um, balance, they are accommodating, sometimes to a fault because they can be indecisive. And you're not asked to be decisive about anything else but your own circumstances. And when I say circumstances, because it's pentacles, your circumstances as they pertain to your physical lived reality and the things that pertain to that. And that's why I say things like your diet, your health, your money, your stuff. You get to design that and you get to redesign that. You get to redecorate that. You get to redo that this month if that's something that appeals. So let's see what the Lenormand cards have to say about that. Interesting. So this is, as I said, it's a beautiful card. He's the king of every, physical, earthly thing, tangible thing. And yet, look at the clarifying cards. We have the cross, we have the letter, and for about the 10 millionth time in these readings, at the end, the clouds. This is about the fourth or fifth time that this has been the card that I've drawn as the last card. Very unusual, but not accidental. So there's a reason why that keeps popping up. So again, as the Libra, you are always accommodating. You want to be fair. You're all about fairness. But sometimes the fairness comes at a cost to you. You're so busy being fair to everybody else that sometimes you take it to a fault and maybe sacrifice more than you should, which doesn't teach anybody else any good thing about how you should be treated or how other people should be treated, right? So it's not quite necessarily the virtue that you think it is to be quite so accommodating. So you're invited um, to reevaluate that. Maybe put it in writing. Write down, journal about this tendency that you have, Libra. I'm Libra rising, so I totally get it. And it's not an easy thing. Clouds. So if Libras are all about justice, which they are, um, but at the same time, they are, you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. Um, you probably want people to like you, all of that. Sometimes it's not an easy thing to balance the quest for justice with the quest for um, keeping everybody happy. Because sometimes people are not going to be happy when you point out, for example, injustice. So, how willing are you to point out injustice? Are you willing to sacrifice being liked, right, for the right thing? It's this very interesting um, balance that Libra has to do between being, again, um, fair and liked, but also being a warrior for justice. So I would take this month to pause and ponder why that can be so difficult. I've said this several times because I've told you I've seen this card several times in this session. Clouds are thoughts. They're doubts, but doubts are just thoughts, which means that they can be changed. They can be swept away. The thing is, if they're not swept away, thoughts become things, correct? So it feels like this is an opportune moment for you to um, decide, for example, what side of things are you on? And what will you do about it? Because, you know, this is actionable. This is concrete. In what ways will you put your money where your mouth is? Right? You're all about fairness. What will you do moving forward into the fall to help ensure that we have fair elections? That's just an example. What will you decide when you are at a family gathering? I don't know, let's say the 4th of July, and your racist uncle says something. The tendency would be to keep the peace, to not say anything. But remember, Libra, you are all about justice. So will you be able to get over your reticence about creating a scene, let's say, by saying to your uncle, "What'd you say?" Because that's not right. So July will present you with these opportunities, but mostly it's about again, I like the term, your life's design. Have you stopped and you thought about what you want your life's design to look like? Or are you busy being so accommodating you haven't even thought about that? This month is an opportunity to give that some consideration. Scorpio. You have the Five of Wands this month. And the Five of Wands, you see this is two birds fighting over twigs. So this is the card for competition, for rising to the occasion. And that's what you're going to be asked to do, it sounds like, in July. As I've said in all the videos, this promises to be a very wild and woolly, fraught month. That's what all the astrologers say. Um, but for a lot of reasons. Uh, because these are wands, this is not about any sort of like internal conflict that you're going to be having to address. No, this is external. Wands are action. So be prepared for external, meaning with other people, having differences of opinion or a case to make, a stand to take, and to go into it with the intention of winning. So let's look and see what Lenormand has to say that will be helpful. Interesting. So, Scorpios, in my experience, love secrets. They keep their own counsel and they like to know other people's secrets too. They don't necessarily divulge their own, but they like to know other people's secrets. So I suspect that there will be Scorpios who um, find the advice of Lenormand for this card, Five of Wands, appealing. So we're looking for um, clarifiers for this contentious card. And we have letter, clover, and sun. And of course, the phrase that comes to mind is this idea that you get more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. So I just watched this great documentary on Netflix called The Final Set. I think it's called The Final Set. And it's about Chris Everett and Martina Navratilova and their tennis rivalry for half a century, basically, and where they are with each other now. It's beautiful and definitely worth watching, especially if you're, in my cohort, my age group. You will remember them from when they were very young teenagers, and now they are old women. And but this was for decades of their professional lives. This was their relationship, and not to give it away, but they are older now, and they have um, achieved a friendship and a peace with each other that is hard and long won. So I think that Scorpio Scorpio has a bite also. I mean, but I don't know. I think if there is someone whom you have beef with, maybe writing to them a letter, not a text or an email. Because a text or an email, you could tell when it's been delivered, and the person who's receiving it knows that you know that. And it's too much pressure. But you could just drop a note in the mail and then let it go and give that other person the room, the space to open it, see that it's from you, throw it on the floor, step on it, and then the next day walk by it again and say, "What's that?" And then pick it up and maybe be in a mood to read it and respond in a better way than they would have the day before when they, had just opened it. I mean, I think that that tactic would appeal to a Scorpio. Again, you win them over in a way that they don't suspect. Um, Clover is a great card. I will also say, mm, it occurs to me that because July is supposed to be such a hot month anyway, um, you don't want to get overheated. So maybe keeping things light, maybe underplaying things. You can always pick it up another time when, when the temperature's not so hot. But just keeping things light would be a really good thing to do. So again, if you just can't stand it and you have to express yourself and you really want to fight, so to speak, put it in a letter and put it in the mail and then leave it alone. You've communicated, you can't control how somebody receives whatever it is you say. Just let it marinate in the way that it's going to. So if you really feel feisty, I would do that. Um, but if it is possible for you, if you can bring yourself to see the merit in being lighter of spirit than this would indicate, um, instead of a to the death competition between Chris and Martina, have it be a, you know, casual Saturday morning game between friends before brunch. Keep it light. And that will be, I mean, that would be good. That would be good this month because in so much of the rest of our lives, we will be taxed and tried. And so, uh, to whatever degree you can keep this combat, not combat, but friendly competition, at the most, that would be good. So slow your roll, Scorpio. Sagittarius. For you, the tarot card for July is the Five of Swords. And so what we have is a pin cushion with little swords in it, like needles that you put in a pin cushion. And we have a boy who has trapped a butterfly in a jar. And he is sort of impassively observing this butterfly, which obviously is contained and therefore cannot fly the way a butterfly is meant to, and also is limited in terms of air to breathe. I mean, I'm assuming butterflies breathe. And, you know, the expression on this guy's face, you know, he's not looking for a cure for cancer. He is, I mean, dare I say, sadistic. And I'm not saying, Sag, that you are at all. That's not the message. The message for you this month is to focus on the concept of ethics in every situation, to ask yourself, what is the ethical stance to take? Whether that is personally or collectively, politically, theologically, whatever that means to you, whatever, I mean, we have infinite opportunities to exercise a code of ethics. Um, his code of ethics is I am curious and I want my curiosity to be assuaged. However, I do that is nobody's business, and certainly is not the business of the butterfly who is at my service to satisfy my curiosity. And I mean, I would call that amoral. we're moral or we're immoral or we're amoral in the ways that we function in the world. And Sag, you will have ample opportunities, both I think on the personal front and also in the wider world, to ask yourself what comports with your personal code of ethics, and what do you do when you are confronted by situations that do not comport to your code of ethics. And when I say ethics, it's not about your preferences, what you would rather see, or as opposed to what you'd rather not see. It's about right and wrong. It's about good and evil, right? So I think you will have a lot of opportunities on the larger stage, right? On the world stage, on the national stage, to be faced with those kinds of questions. Um, Not sure why you're being tasked with this, but we should all take a leaf out of this book. You know, we see something and we don't like it, we think it's wrong, but we don't say anything. You know what I mean? Like where does that fit into our code of ethics? We see something about ourselves. We know it's not great, but you know what? We'll just ignore it. What does that say about our code of ethics? We all do that. Um, but we don't want to be this guy. So let's see what Lenormand has to say that might be helpful. Yeah, you're being urged, Sag, to take a stand. That's what this guy does. You know, he sees something that is just patently wrong, and he says, "Not on my watch. Mm-mm, not on my watch." He will be all the better for it, the stork says. And he will have advanced his soul's growth, we'll just say. So this is a great opportunity. It really is a great opportunity for all of us. But Sagittarius, you are being pointed in that direction. Maybe because you are adventurous, um, you know, willing to sail that ship and see where it takes you, as opposed to tending to not. So, Saint Teresa of Avila said a prayer that I love. It's very short. It's 5 words, and I used to say it when I was a young mother, you know, doing dishes and cooking and carrying a baby and um, working and pushing a vacuum and going shopping and just doing all those multitasking things that you do when you're a parent. And I thought of Saint Teresa of Avila often. If I was cleaning the toilet, right, I would say the prayer, and the prayer is my every act a prayer, meaning may my every act be done with purpose and intentionality and adherence to my own moral code of understanding, as opposed to this guy. So that is what you're being asked to live out, to just ask yourself these questions in every moment. You will be the better for it, and you will progress as a result. So, good message. Okay, Capricorn, it's your turn, and you have as your tarot card this month the Four of Pentacles. So you see this person, they've got Well, their feet, each of their feet is planted on a pentacle, and then they're holding two pentacles close to their torso. And one is so big that, you can only see half of the person's face. This is a card about um, financial stability, which is a great thing, but it also sort of is a caveat. Um, it's a reminder that money, like everything else, is a form of energy. Pentacles are money, they are the things that we own, the things that we possess. And, physics teaches us that about energy, that when we try to hold on too tightly to it, like this person, um, we run the risk. We run all kinds of risks, Capricorn. Um, we run the risks of never feeling like we have enough. We run the risk of being ungenerous with our resources since we don't think that we have enough for ourselves. And we run the risk of living lives that are smaller, really, than they need to be, or than they're smaller than we deserve them to be. Um, Capricorns are nothing if not practical. And practicality is a good thing, a good thing. But like anything, it can be taken to an extreme. And so, you're asked to think about your resources, the stuff that you own, but also the person that you are, and to do an assessment of how open-handed you are with yourself, open-hearted you are with yourself, with other people in your circle and external to that small circle. And you're being asked whether you could, you know, think about what could happen if you loosened your grip, if you opened your palm, if you opened your heart. Could you accrue a benefit by doing that? Um, and these are tough times. And all of us feel like holding more tightly to what is ours, partly because we've got a government that's trying to rip it all away. Correct? I mean, I get it. So this is not an indictment on any level. It's just a reminder, I think, from tarot about the nature of energy, and that the paradox about it is that the more open-hearted and open-handed you are, the more, ironically, will flow to you. So let's see what Lenormand has to say about that for this month. Okay. So remember, we're clarifying the Four of Pentacles. We have the older man, that's not you know who. We have the heart, and we have the crossroads. In its best iteration, this is the card for maturity, for having been around the block and learned some lessons in life. One of the lessons, of course, being when you hold stuff and people and things too tightly, you run the risk of losing them. He's learned that. Uh, he is the better for it and is now choosing from a place of that wisdom and that knowledge that life has taught him. That holding on too tightly to anything causes us to lose it. You know, what do they say? The only constant is change. So the Buddhists, I say this often, the Buddhists tell us that the source of all human suffering is attachment. So maybe this month you might want to think about what what things you can be sort of you can practice being less attached to. And because it's pentacles, we are talking about stuff, right? Whether it's the food that you eat, right? Or the money that you have, or the stuff that you have. Um, the money, whatever it is, the stuff. Um, how could you loosen your grip on your attachment to that stuff? And how would that benefit you? What different choices would it allow you to make? So only you know. And I mean, these messages, think about it. I mean, each of them could be messages for all of us. It's just that this month, the cards have asked me to give you, Capricorn, this message. So I hope it hits. If it doesn't, that's okay. Pass it on or leave it alone, or let it go and drop it. But if it resonates, I'd love to hear how it plays out for you during the course of the month. Okay. Aquarius. Well, look what you got as your tarot card. We should all have been so lucky. You got the sun. This, in Lenormand, in tarot, and most divination systems that have sun cards, the sun is considered the best card in the deck. It's the card for confidence, for success, fulfillment, for leadership. It's terrific. I will say that, we are about to enter the hot month of July, and there's a heat dome over much of Europe that's heading its way over here. So it will be temperature hot. It will be temperament hot as well, as we move into July, starting with the 4th. And, moving forward, I think that the country will have a lot of feelings around this month. Astrologically, apparently, according to my friends who do this for a living, astrology, um, this is the most pivotal month, they say, of the year. I will remind you, too, that the sun, for all of its warmth and all of its life affirming properties, right? Plants need sun to grow. We thrive in the sun. The sun keeps us warm when it's not keeping us hot. And that's the point, is that um, the other thing to remember about the sun is that it shines light into dark corners, and it can show us things that we maybe would rather not see in the light of day. So it's really always important to bear that in mind when you see this card. It's great. Again, the best card in the deck, the luckiest card in the deck, that's terrific. But it's also true that sometimes the sun can be too bright and too hot. And so this is both um, a beneficent gift to you, Aquarius, and it's also a warning. Um, there's such a thing as too much of a good thing. So it'll be interesting to see how the sun plays out in your personal astrology this month. But let's see what Lenormand has to say about it. I will say that also, to the saying, to whom much is given, much is required. So this is, in fact, the card of leadership. It's the Leo card. Leo, of course, is the opposite sign of Aquarius, by the way, which is interesting. But, you know, if you get this card and you have this great month, what does that require of you then? Maybe that's the question that Lenormand will answer. I don't know. So we have the bear, we have the garden, and we have the woman card. This is yin energy, that's true. So it's receptive, it's open. So I guess be open to everything that the sun card is, everything. Like not just the stuff that you like, but be aware and open to all of it. So I think that's this card here. And these two, remember I said that to whom much is given, much is required. The bear and the garden. The garden is the card for other people. Everybody basically outside your front door. Everybody, the world. Your neighbors, people on the other side of the world, people in the next state, um, the next city, the next whatever. It's other people, the public, even you could say, the public. And the bear is asking you, because again, Aquarius, the sun is your card, asking you to step up. Step up on behalf of the public. Step up too on behalf of those who are disenfranchised in some way. That's what's being required of you now. Aquarius, of course, is the visionary sign. They see the future, right? They are like prophets in their own time. And you know what they say, prophets are never heard in their own time or country. And that can sometimes be, the curse of being an Aquarius is that you see stuff, you know stuff before it happens. But you are asked to take that Aquarian foresightedness where the sun casts a big beam into the future for you. That's just how your sign is. Um, and use it for the benefit of the collective, for the greater good. So you got the best card in the deck. Nobody else this month got a card this good. You need to ask yourself, what does that require of you this month? So congratulations, and may the force of the sun be with you. Pisces, your tarot card is the Two of Swords. And this is a really interesting rendition of this card, I think, from the Tarot of the Abyss. Normally, not normally, but traditionally, you will see someone who has got two swords and their arms are crossed like this, sword in each hand, and they are blindfolded. And we know this card to be about choices. But this portrayal is really different. Instead of being blindfolded, we see that this person has no face. We also see that they are um, kneeling on the swords as opposed to holding the swords like this. Um, and I think that the reason that they're kneeling on the swords is that the choices that they face are under their control. right? As opposed to being blindfolded and you just don't know what to do. No, here's the thing, they do know. Um, and there are two masks, right, that they could put on their face. And in order to make a choice, they're going to have to pick one or the other. One of these faces is wide awake, and there are, you know, prongs sticking out kind of like the sun. They are wide awake and aware. The other one, it's kind of like a Medusa's head. Like they look like they've got long flowing tresses, but the point, more to the point, their eyes are absolutely closed. And this person who is faced with making this decision has a choice. Do they make the choice to put on the face that's asleep or the face that's awake? And I mean, is that not the choice that so many people face during this month of July, this pivotal 250th birthday month? We can act like we've always acted and like, you know, this is how it is and there's nothing wrong with it. And baseball, apple pie, mom, and Chevrolet. Or we can be, and they say it in a pejorative way, right? Woke, which is to say, awake, which is to say, moving from an informed place. We have a choice, individually and also collectively as a nation. And Pisces, you are a very feeling kind of sign, like, you're a water sign, of course, and emotional sign. So you get what this is about. From what place do you move? Um, from what place do the people around you move? If you move from this place, why? If you move from this place, but wish you could move from this place, how do you make wishing a reality, right? I think, frankly, this card, and this is the last reading, by the way, because you're the last sign. Um, I think it's fascinating that this is the last card that I pull because this is a message for you, Pisces, of course, but is this not a message to all of us collectively? Who do we want to be? We get to decide that, not anybody else. We're not blindfolded, and we can put on either of these faces. We get to decide. But first, we have to stop kneeling, holding down, you know, preventing from being raised up these swords. And swords are about thoughts. So as we figure out who we want to be as a nation, who we've been as a nation, and come to terms with that, those are heavy thoughts. But as heavy as they are, they need to be picked up. One or the other of the masks needs to be put on, and decisions need to be made. So this is for you personally. It's also collectively all of us. So we are with you in this, Pisces. Let's see what Lenormand has to add. Yeah, too many of us have moved from this sleeping place, have lived our lives from this sleeping place. This is the card for, among other things. And again, this is not me making this up. This is, it's a European system that was created in the late 1700s. So, take that into account when I say what I'm about to say. In this context, this is the card of passivity. And you could argue that whole swaths of us have been rewarded for our passivity, just letting things be what they are, because that's how they are and that's how they've always been. But collectively, as we pick up the awake mask, we're saying, wait a minute, 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 wait a minute. Because the mountain is a pause, a block. Wait a minute, wait a minute. So we have what percentage of literacy are we? 49th in the world. We are the only country in the developed world, so to speak, that doesn't have universal health care. We have our health care tied to our job, so if we lose our job, we lose our health care. University isn't free, and you have to get a graduate degree in order to be able to earn a wage, but then that wage is used up in paying back those loans. Wait a minute. Mm-mm-mm-mm. There's a reason that the powers that be say woke like it's a bad word, like it's a dirty word. Because God forbid, um, God forbid we wake up Pisces. And Pisces, not for nothing, you're dreamy. Sleep is good. I mean, don't we all like to sleep in? But it's time to wake up and say, wait a minute. We need to reassess this. And further, the scythe. What will the scythe do? Right? Uh, if we pick up the right mask, Pisces, uh, we can make different decisions than the ones that have been made for us heretofore about how we do things like healthcare and education, etc. So Pisces, um, you watery sign, you seem to have carried on your tide, your watery tide, the message for all of us this July, which is, who do you want to be and why? And then what do you do about it? You say, wait a minute, hold up, right? Take the whole summer to say that. But then, come November, right? Come November, we vote. So, Pisces, this is for you, but it's also for all of us. And I think it's a great message to end on. So, thank you for sharing your cards with the rest of us. Um, that's generous of you. And it is what a feeling sign like Pisces would do. So, so we're all grateful. All right. Thank you.